Hello, Storytime friends. I'm so happy that you're joining us for another Bedtime Storytime this evening. If you haven't met us before, we need to introduce ourselves, don't we, Fluffy? My name is Miss Ann, and I am the Early Literacy Specialist for the Lincolnwood Public Library. So all that those fancy words mean is that I get to do all of these story times and all of our programming for our littlest friends and their families. And now that we're virtual, and now that we have recorded videos, right? Anybody of any age can watch them, so anybody can join us. You're never too old for a story. You're never too old for story time. I am very old, and I still love story time more than anything. Now this is my best stuffed friend, Fluffy. Fluffy has been with me since I was a very little girl, and she joins us at every single bedtime story time, right? So Fluffy is here in her pajamas, I'm wearing my pajamas, and we're snuggled up ready to do some bedtime story time together. But the first thing that we have to do is we have to sing our hello song, right? We have to welcome everyone here to story time. So our hello song, if you haven't joined us before, is very simple. And our hello song has a few different American Sign Language words in it. So I will teach you them in case you haven't been here with us before. Fluffy, I'm going to put you a little bit lower on my lap here so I have both my hands so I can do our sign language words together. All right, so it has hello, which is just a little salute from your forehead, right? So you tuck your thumb underneath your flat hand, do a little salute. Hello, hello. It has friends. Now friends is a little bit harder for our tiniest storytime buddies because we have to separate out those pointer fingers from the rest of our hand. So we separate out our pointer fingers, and then just like real friends, right? You can imagine they have little faces right up here on our fingers. They hug, right? They hug. And when they hug, they switch sides like this. Friends. Now, if you're ready with both of those, you can add two more for our song. You can add time, which is just taking your wrist flat and pointing to it like you're wearing a watch on your wrist. You're pointing out what time it is to everybody. Time. And you can add say. Now, say is just taking a flat hand and tapping onto your chin. I know that we're trying really hard not to touch our noses and mouths and eyes and our faces. So if you just want to put it right in front, that's okay too. That's how I did it when we were doing story time in person, when we were able to do story time in person, because I was out and about and touching the books and touching the toys, and I didn't want to get germs by touching my face. So I just put it right in front when we would sing the song together. All right, I think we're ready. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. It's time to say hello. Oh my gosh, Storytime friends, I'm Fluffy. Fluffy was singing along. She wasn't able to do the American Sign Language words with us because she just has paws. So she wasn't able to do that part, but she was singing along with us to enjoy and welcome all of our Storytime friends to Bedtime Storytime. Now, the other thing that we do every single week at Bedtime Storytime is we do a little bit of a teach and repeat rhyme. Now, that's pretty much exactly like what it sounds. We learn a rhyme, and then we repeat it every single week for a couple of months, so that by the time that we stop, by the time that we move to a new rhyme, you guys have that rhyme all memorized for yourselves, right? You don't need me to do it. You don't need the lyrics. You can pull it out at any time of the day, and especially this one is perfect to pull out at bedtime, right? To get some relaxation before bedtime, get some rhymes in, some fun in, but not a lot of excitement or a lot of waking up type of fun, more of a calming down kind of fun. So this rhyme that we've been doing, that we've been practicing together, is called This Little Child is Going to Bed, right? It's perfect for bedtime story time. So we start by pointing to ourselves, right? Because we're talking about ourselves going to bed. Then we make a little pillow, because you need a pillow when you're going to bed, right? We make a little pillow out of our hand. We take our hand flat and put our head down on it like it's a little pillow. Now, we don't just need a pillow, especially if it's a colder day. We need a nice warm blanket to go to bed, don't we? All right, Fluffy, I'm going to put you right to the side so I have both my arms again, because we're going to make a blanket by hugging ourselves. Yeah, we're going to pretend we're pulling up the blanket over our bodies and tucking it nice and tight, right? Then my favorite part of the rhyme, we're going to pretend that we've fallen asleep. And I don't know about you out there, But let me tell you, when I'm asleep, I snore. I snore. It's true. It's very true. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. I snore, and I snore pretty loudly. So in this rhyme, I'm going to pretend that I've fallen asleep, and we're going to pretend to snore together. Do you think you would have fun pretending to snore really, really loud? I think you would too. We're going to put our head back down on our pillow, close our eyes, and do our pretend snore. Is that so silly? Don't really fall asleep. We still have to do our story. You don't really fall asleep. All right, are you ready? This little child is going to bed. Down on a pillow they lay their head. They wrap themselves in a blanket tight, and this is the way they sleep all night. Oh my gosh, good job. I almost really fell asleep. We were pretending so well that I almost really fell asleep that time. All right, so now that we've done our welcome song and our teach and repeat rhyme, we're ready to do our story, right? For story time, we need a story. Now, if you joined us for lunch break story time this week, and if you didn't, don't worry, they're right in the recordings where this video is, right in the playlist with all the rest of the videos. Don't go away quite yet because you want to watch this video first. But if you weren't able to make it for our lunch break story time, we learned that this week is I Love My Library week, and we do love our library and our librarians, especially during this pandemic time. I know that all the librarians I know have been working so hard to make sure that all of their patrons, all their families, their grown-ups and their kiddos are getting what they need during this time, right? Whether it's virtual programs like this, or being able to check things out and pick them up curbside, or being able to get some craft kits and activity kits like we have in our great green box. We've been trying so hard. All the libraries across the country have been trying so hard to make sure that everybody is taken care of during this time. So I love my library, and I love all my librarian friends for just that reason, and for a lot of other reasons, but for that reason. So, since we shared some library and book themed rhymes at lunch break story time, I thought that we would share a library themed story tonight together. Now, if you've joined us at Bedtime Storytime before, you know that the way that we do stories here at Bedtime Storytime is with the flannel board, right? But we don't make up our stories for the flannel board. We don't invent them. Although you could, you definitely could, but I am not creative enough to invent stories like the ones we share together. Those are invented by much more creative people than me. And this story is invented by a woman called Deborah Bruss, and it's based on a picture book. I'm going to go ahead and put the link to the picture book in the comments for the video, in the description for the video. So if you guys want to check out and put on hold for curbside pickup like we were just talking about, if you want to put this book on hold and read the picture book version, you're welcome to. This picture book is called Book by Deborah Bruss. I know, you already know it's going to be good because we're yelling the word book over and over in the title. I know, you already know it's going to be great. Now, this book is also great for another reason, which is it has some barnyard animals. And I know we have a lot of barnyard animal fans out there, don't we? Yeah, we have our big barn. I'm going to move back a little bit so you can see the whole barn. Our big barn. Now, at the barn, there were so many cute little animals. There was a cow. And what does the cow say? Moo. Right? Oh my gosh, you guys are so good. I know you're going to love your barnyard animal noises. There was a cow. There was a horse. Ooh, we got to get our light back there. A horse. What does a horse say? Neigh. Neigh, right? Put our horse on the other side of the barn so that there's room for everybody. There was, what's this guy? A goat. And what does a goat say? Neigh, 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 neigh. Kind of like a nanny goat, right? They make that little noise like a neigh, right? There's our goat. And there was one more little animal. And that animal was our hen, right? Our hen. Now, what noise does a hen make? Bark, 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 right? Bark, bark, bark. Oh my gosh, we've got our hen friend. We've got all of our barnyard animal friends. Let's put hen over by horse. We don't want horse all alone over on that side of the barn. We'll put hen over there. Now, our friends at the barn usually had plenty to do. During the day, but when their human friends were doing other things, they got kind of bored, right? When their human friends were at work, when they were at school, they got super bored, right? They had no one to ride with them. They had no one to play tug of war with them. They had no one to scratch behind their ears or ruffle their little feathers. Ugh. So in the bright morning sun, there was some complaining coming out of those barnyard animals. The horsey was hanging his head. So sad, right? The cow was complaining. The goat was grumbling. And the hen was sighing. So bored, so lonely. What to do? So about noon, about lunchtime, with the sun nice and high over the barn, our animals made a decision. The hen had an idea. The hen squawked, "I'm bored and I'm going to head to town and I'm going to find us something to do." Our hen was going to find us something to do. So all the animals followed the hen's lead down the road, right? They walked all the way down the road into town, all the way away from the barn. And they saw a building. When they went into town. Now, I bet you're going to recognize this building. But our animal friends did not quite know what to make of this building. Let's put our animals next to our new building here. Now, do you recognize that building? What does this say at the top? L-I-B-R-A-R-Y. Library. They were at the library. But since they had never been to town and never seen the library, they had no idea what this building was. But they saw lots of people with really happy faces, smiling, walking in and out of the library. So the hen said, "Happy people, this must be the place that we're looking for. I will go inside and I will ask them if they have something for us to do." Now, our hen is the littlest of all these animals, isn't she? She's the littlest. And the other animals, they did not think that this was a job for such a little animal. I know they didn't trust her. They said that they needed to do it instead. They needed to take this job instead because they were bigger and stronger. I know. I bet our littlest kiddos have heard that a lot of times before, haven't you? That you're not big enough to do something. It's so frustrating, isn't it? And you get angry sometimes when someone says that to you. It can be so hard, especially if you know that you're the right person for the job or the right animal, right? But the hen listened to her friends, and the horse was the first one who wanted to go in. The horse said, what did the horse say? "Nay, nay, you're too small for such a big job. Leave it to me." And the horse clip-clopped into the library. And politely, very politely, all the animals were very good with their manners. Politely, he asked the librarian for something to do. But the librarian could not understand horse language, right? All that she could hear was, "Nay, nay." She didn't understand what that meant. So the horse hung his head again and clip-clopped out. And next, the cow wanted to try. Our cow wanted to try, so our cow plodded into the library, and politely she asked for something to do, right? But the librarian could not understand the cow either. All that the librarian could hear was, what does the cow say? "Moo, moo," right? And she didn't understand what that meant. Oh, so the cow was complaining again and plodded back out, right? And now the goat wanted to have a turn. So he trotted into the library. And he asked very, very politely in his goat language if there was something that they could do. But the librarian could not understand because all that she could hear was the goat going, nah, 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 right? You can't understand goat language. You don't know what that means. So the librarian could not understand the goat, and the goat grumbled and trotted on back out of the library. Now there's only one more animal who hasn't tried, right? It's our teeny tiniest little hen. It's our hen's turn, finally. All the other animals had tried and they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. They couldn't figure out how to find something to do and how to make the librarian understand them. So finally the hen got to have a try. She flapped up her wings nice and proud, right? And she's strong and brave. She flapped into the library and she said, I am going in and no one is going to stop me. And into the library she went. Once she was in the library, she used her hen language, right? And what does the hen say? Bark. Now that kind of sounds like something. Bark. Bark. Does that kind of sound like the word book? Bark. It does. So in she went and she used her hen language to say bark. Very politely. Also politely. All the animals were very, very good with their manners. Now at first the librarian looked around and couldn't see where that noise was coming from because hen is so little, right? Hen is right down on the ground. So the hen made her hen noise again. Bark, bark, clucked the hen. Librarian scratched her head. Who is that? She asked. Right, where's that noise coming from? Who's making that noise? And so the chicken, the hen, made one more effort to make the librarian understand her. And she said, bark, bark, bark. And suddenly the librarian saw her and thought she understood exactly what she meant. This is what you want, she said, and grabbed 3 books from the shelf and handed them to the hen. Now, all of our friends trotted back and flapped back and clopped back to the farm with their 3 new library books. Now, once they were at the farm, I bet you can guess what they did. It's pretty similar to what we're doing right now. They had a little bit of a story time. Should we get all of our animals together for our story time? Oh, there are all of our animal friends back at the barn ready for story time. They all gathered around the books and the barnyard was filled with excited neighs and moos and baas and all the way until bedtime. Oh my gosh, you guys did such a good job with that story. I know that I can't really hear you because this is just a recorded video, but I think that I heard those animal noises coming through the phone because if there's anything that gets our Storytime friends excited, it's anything with food, right? And anything with some animal noises. We all love to make some animal noises, and we all love a good bark, right? We all love a good book. All right, let's get Fluffy back here because now that we've shared our story and we've done our teach and repeat rhyme and we said hello to one another, we have another thing that we do every single bedtime story time, which is our imagination meditation, right? Now, if you haven't joined us before, you might be thinking to yourself, meditation for little kiddos, that is not going to work. And you will be surprised, right? We do this every single week, and I'm telling you, the kiddos get better and better at it. And more importantly, even if they don't look like they're meditating, we're modeling for them as the grown-ups, right? So we're showing them what it looks like to slow down and listen to our bodies, right? Listen to what our bodies are telling us about how we're feeling, right? Because sometimes when we're feeling stressed, or when we're feeling frustrated, like our hen, right? Our hen was so frustrated when all of her friends thought that she wasn't big enough to figure out how to talk to the librarian, right? So she was really frustrated. And sometimes when we feel those big emotions, we feel them in our bodies, not just our minds. And when we do our imagination meditation, it helps because it helps slow down and have us be able to listen to how our body is feeling. But even I, a grown-up, cannot close my eyes and sit really still and try to clear my mind of all of the thoughts that are in there. I just can't do it. And it makes me kind of more stressed out to try. So what we do instead is we do an imagination that we can focus our minds on, right? So at bedtime story time, we imagine that we have something that smells really, really, really yummy. I told you, food, animal noises. This is 2 for 2 this story time. So the food can be anything you want. I think, Fluffy, should we do maybe an apple pie again? We really like apple pie. We really like apple pie because it smells like sugar and it smells like apples. So you imagine that you're smelling something really yummy. I'm going to imagine an apple pie. And you breathe in to take the most you can of that smell in. And when you breathe out, you can imagine that you're blowing out a candle, right? You can imagine that little flickering light in the darkness. Maybe it's on top of a birthday cake, or maybe it's a special holiday that you use candles to celebrate. Maybe it's just a regular old candle flickering away. And you blow out nice and slow and steady. And imagine that candle flame going out. We do that pattern, right? In, we smell our yummy thing, and out we blow out our candle. We do that 3 times together. You ready? And if you can only do it 1 time or half a time, or if you get stuck thinking about eating apple pie, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. Do what feels best for your body, okay? All right. Ready for time 2. More of that apple smell. Ready for our last time smelling that sugary goodness and blowing out that little flame. How does your body feel? Normally after this, I feel a little bit more tired, right? Because I've let my body relax, and so I've gotten a little more tired. I also feel a little limper in my body, like a little looser, like a noodle that's been cooked a long, long time, just kind of loose in my body. Because a lot of the time during the day, I don't know about you guys, but I feel really tight in my body. Especially I feel it in my jaw, I feel it in my head, and I sometimes feel it in my tummy. When I'm really stressed out, I feel there's a tightness here, a tightness in those 3 places. And so when I stop and do that quick little meditation, even just 1 time, not even 3, even just 1 time, it can start to feel a little bit better and start to feel those places in my body unclenching and loosening up, right? All right, story time friends, it is almost time for me to let you go. I know, bedtime story time. No story time is ever long enough for our liking, right? We love story time so much. But if you want more story time, that's just what I want to tell you about. You can do 2 things. Number 1, you can call our Dial a Story line. You've heard me talk about this before, probably. This is our Dial a Story service where you don't have to have the internet. You can just use any phone you have, cell phone or a landline. You call a number, 847-999-7600. And when you call, you're going to get a menu read by me, so you'll recognize the voice, a menu of all of the stories that we have offered that week. So we have both of our books for One Book, One Community, which if you don't know about that, oh my gosh, you have to visit our website to find out more, which is just lincolnwoodlibrary.org. Our One Book, One Community for families is a picture book called Outside Inside by Lewin Pham. And it's all about this past year and how we felt, the happy things that we've been able to do, right? Like spending more time with our families, and some of the sad things that have happened during this year, right? Like people getting sick. And this book is so beautiful. It's a picture book that's great for all ages. I've read it at least 4 times by now. And I am a grown-up and I enjoy it so very much. So that is our One Book, One Community for kiddos and families. That's on our Dial-A-Story. Our One Book, One Community for grown-ups is called The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And that one is also on our Dial-A-Story, right? So we're reading that one in parts because it's a little bit longer than a picture book. It's a longer book. So we're reading that one in parts and they're all up on Dial-A-Story. We're up to part 4 this week, I believe, or part 5. I can't remember, but we're a few parts in. So if you've missed any, don't worry. They're all there. They're all there for you. You can backtrack. We also read some themed picture books every week. And not every month, we change it every single week. We have some library and book themed picture books this week to celebrate I Love My Library Week. So we have those up there. And we have a continuing chapter book that we do for families, right? Because Midnight Library is for grown-ups. So we want to have a chapter book for families too. The chapter book that's up there right now that we're working our way through is called The War That Saved My Life. So we're about 11 chapters into that one. And same thing. All of them stay up there. So if you miss a week or if you just want to listen to a chapter again, they're all up there for you. So that's a really great way to fill up your story time need. When you need a story time, you can call into our Dial-A-Story. You can also look at all the other videos in our playlist, right? So this video, but there are so many more. We have so many virtual story times from this year that are all up there. They're all labeled by their topic or their theme or their story, right? So this one's going to be labeled bark, 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 right? Because that's the story that we shared. And sometimes they'll be labeled by a theme, like Mondays is going to be labeled I Love My Library, right? Because it was all about libraries and books. So you can go to your favorites, you can go to ones that you missed, you can fast forward and rewind as many times as you like. And what I love about both of those services is that you can watch them or listen to them at any time, because our lives are so busy and we have so much going on. And especially with the grown-ups, if you're still working from home, if you have a lot of things that you have to get done, you can pull out those Storytime playlists. You can pull up that Dial-A-Story and pop it on speakerphone. And then your kiddos have a little bit of something to engage their minds and have fun with while you get some work done too. Great for bedtime. If you're not feeling up to reading a story yourself, we know how great it is to do a story before bedtime, how many benefits that has for our kiddos. But if you're not up to it after a long day, I completely understand. And so you can just pull up one of the Dial-A-Story stories and listen to that together, snuggled all up with your pajamas, your stuffed animal friends as a family, right? All right, now I've got all my announcements for you, and it really is time to say goodbye. Say see you later. So we're going to sing our goodbye song. Now, our goodbye song is the exact same as our hello song, except for we use the American Sign Language word for goodbye, which is just opening our hand flat and closing it. Goodbye instead of hello, right? All the rest of the sign language words are the same. All right, Fluffy, I'm going to put you down right over here so that I have both my hands so I can do my sign language. All right, are we ready? Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. It's time to say goodbye. Goodbye, my Storytime friends. I'll get Fluffy out here because she wants to give you guys a little bit of a kiss too. We miss you so much. We miss seeing you at the library. We miss hanging out and playing together. And one day that will come back for us. Until then, I'm so lucky that we're able to share story time together virtually so that we can still enjoy all of the fun of story time and all of the community that we have together. So I am thinking of you. I hope that you and your families are staying safe and healthy, and we will see each other soon. Mwah! You want a kiss too, Fluffy? Mwah!